Damn.
Dollars a year. Jeff and Lolita Mallard, 1.5. Are you kidding me? I mean, amazing. Andy,
Anthony, ahora sí.
Amy McKeever.
You can hear me now?
Check this out. Okay.
Yeah.
Over $2 million
Okay.
a year in income. 2.1 million. Mario and Franny Arizon and Gary and Pat Cordigay. And then it doesn't stop, teammates, at $2.3 million in income. Patty and Savannah Schechter and Chris and Elizabeth Koob, and at $2.9 million a year, almost at $3 million. It's coming soon. The incredible Willie and Lorena Naranjo. But teammates, we got one more. At $3.2 million a year. Give it up for the incredible Tom and Leela Stafford. I'm telling you, teammates, this is the kind of success. It is mind-boggling what you have accomplished this year. This is the kind of success that we have been talking about for more than 43 years, and we are witnessing together. And today, such a special show celebrating number 97. As Glenn talked at the top of the show, this is his show with his wife, of course, his kids. Barb, who is a significant player in his business, is joining them here on the set today. I can't wait for y'all to see her too. But I'll tell you what, it is with honor that we do a presentation to all of our $1 million earners, and I get to do that today with Gordy and Brenda. Of course, teammates, we get the check and the jerseys and the rings, and so we want to make sure to recognize them with all of those today, starting with the $1 million bill, right? So now their faces are on this bill. So Gordy, here you go for you and Brenda, the $1 million bill. Congratulations. What a beautiful shot of the both of you. And then teammates, of course, then we have the $1 million jersey, right? So check this out, right? I mean, a Primerica millionaire right here. So Gordy, here you go, teammates, for you guys, the jersey. Congratulations. It's going to look good on you. Look at that number 97. I love it. And then, really, the best of the best right here. We've got those $1 million rings for the two of you. So put them on for us. Stick them in the camera. Let's see what they look like. Congratulations, guys. I could not be more proud of the two of you, your incredible family, and the legacy that you are building here at Primerica, but most importantly, the example you are to all of us. So before we turn the show over to Gordy and Brenda, we want to make sure to commemorate today and their run to $1 million with this incredible video. Let's roll it.
$1 Million earners NSD Gordy and Brenda Bohannon of Hiawatha, Iowa, have always measured success in the number of families they've helped and in the quality of life they've been able to share with their family and team. The year was 1982. Gordy had just graduated from the University of Iowa with a degree in business when he was approached about joining A.L. Williams. It was a business opportunity with a competitive, sports-like environment, and Gordy was all in.
Now, I had never had anyone in my family tree go to college. I was the first one, got a business degree. Let me show you what happens when you start building a legacy and thinking long term.
Just before taking his RVP advancement, he met Brenda, who would be his partner in business and then in life. They married in 1986. After reaching the six-figure level, the newlyweds turned their focus to one of their biggest goals as a couple, starting a family.
And what I'm most proud of is the way we did it. We put our family first. I was there for our kids' games. We were able to coach them. My wife was able to stay home. We built a great family. And because of that, I'm not burnt out. And I'll kick a lot of people's butts now because I'm still going at it, and I love this thing.
In April 2000, the pair had advanced to National Sales Director. And by August of that year, they crossed the third diamond level. In 2010, their oldest son, Jason, began building alongside Gordy and Brenda. And by the time they were inducted into the Wall of Fame in 2013, they earned their fifth diamond.
And so when Jason got done with pro basketball, he came to me and he says, I want to get licensed with you, Dad, and I want to come to work with you. And I was shocked. We never really talked about it. I just wanted him to do it because he wanted to. And this kid came to work with this company because he loved the investment business. Don't tell me we can't recruit to this business through securities.
Over the next 7 years, their income milestones reflected their commitment to helping others. And in April 2020, their efforts culminated in their biggest milestone yet, Primerica's $97 million earners.
Gordy and Brenda are such incredible role models for all of us at Primerica. First of all, Gordy was a competitor, a Rose Bowl quarterback from the University of Iowa before his Primerica days, and then he took that competitive spirit and brought it to this company so many years ago as a pioneer of our business, and has taught us for many years, for decades, how to compete and how to win in business. And then, of course, Gordy and Brenda are building a great family legacy in their Primerica business. Their sons are in the business with them, and they're succeeding individually while they all succeed together as a team and a family. It's another great way. They're examples to all of Primerica. I'm so proud of Gordy and Brenda's accomplishments up to this point and all the great things they're going to do in the years to come. But I'm particularly proud that we can honor them as our 97th million dollar earners.
Well, good morning, Primerica. Thank you so much for the recognition. We are so excited about the future of this company and the future of our firm here locally in the Cedar Rapids area. Just wanted, before we get started, we need to spend some time thanking some of the people that have changed our lives and have had a huge impact in our business. The first person, obviously, is Art Williams. I was fortunate to get recruited in 1982 and got a chance to listen to Art firsthand, get to know him personally. And Art Williams changed my whole life. Now, I was 22 years old. I had no whole life, but he changed my entire life. So thank you, Art. Glenn, you and Peter, and what you've done, especially this year, to get us through the turbulent times. We've grown through this, and we just thank you so much for your leadership. Bobby, you know what you mean to our family and everything you're doing. We just couldn't be in better hands than yours. And Julie, what you're doing as well. This is so much appreciated. Before I forget, though, we got to thank the PFN TV team, Megan and Travis and Hope. What you guys do to make this company go is amazing, and we just couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much. As some of you know, we do a lot of business on the security side. We are a very well-rounded business, so we want to make sure, David Siegel, you know how much you mean to us. Tracy Gallman, the managed business, has changed our business model. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Aaron and Don Hubler, your friendship means everything to us. The people behind the scenes, like the David Mays, the Brian Weigels, and the Bill Kellys. It's just the team that you guys have to work with right now in Primerica is just amazing. So I'm so thankful for that. Let's go to some of the mentors. Rusty Crossan, I want to just do a shout out to you. Your leadership and your vision of helping us through those early days was just amazing. I don't know if Jason's going to talk about this, but I remember there's a PFS event in Aspen, Colorado, where Rusty lived, and he had PFS for kids. Jason was in that class doing coloring books at a young age and learning about bi-term invested difference and Rule 72, and I think that's helped him quite a bit. Keith Chappelle, what an amazing mentor you have been to me. We have been best friends. We grew up in Los Angeles, different areas, different backgrounds, different beliefs, but we had a commonality that we wanted to be somebody. And what Keith Chappelle and I were able to do going to Cal Poly Pomona our first year, then taking a step back and walking away from a secure scholarship, like some of you need to walk away from a secure job. We went to Glendale Junior College and took a step back. And as you see here on the screen, nice hair, by the way, Keith. Well, I should say that about myself too. But we ended up becoming All-Americans at junior college, took a step back, and then took a giant step forward and went to the University of Iowa. So thank you so much for what you've done for me. And what you've been able to do for me, Keith, is you were more concerned about who I was becoming as opposed to how much business I was producing. And then we take a look at the Rice family. What an example they've been, Larry and Ginger Rice and their sons here in the picture. You're the only family, I believe, still this day that had $400,000 earners in one family. So congratulations, Larry and Ginger and Tom and Rod and Doug. Tom's going to make $1 million in 2021. The Vermeers, what a great example. I want to talk to you about our Chicago office just for a second. I was able to take over Rudd and Debbie Hall's legacy when Rudd passed. And just a shout out to Mike and Kate Marino and Angel and his partner TT and Maria, their partner Nick, Esther and Paul, Constantine. You guys are amazing. We are such a diverse group, but we're so powerful. And I believe we could be another $1 million earner in that code number alone. So we're excited about that. Let's talk about our Hiawatha office. You saw Jason and Matt. You'll hear from them, and Barbara and Brad. These are people that every single day this year, you guys, we did not miss a day. We were in this office safely, open up. We were there on Zoom, handling our clients, doing training, and we're just so excited about being in business with them. I want to talk about our family. This is obviously my wife, Brenda. I'm looking at the screen here. This is Vienna. I don't know if you saw this picture or not, but this is one of the first trips we took. Remember, we were on our way to the Vienna Boys choir where they were singing to us at the Habsburg Palace. That's how we started our relationship. And she has just been an incredible glue that holds this family together. And she's turned our house into a home, and you'll see that in the success that our family's had. We couldn't have done it without Brenda's focusing on our family and staying home. So appreciate all that you do there. Let's talk about our kids. This is our 4 sons, Jason and Zach and Matt and Jordan. This is our favorite beach in Maui. We went to Maui here. I'll always remember this, Brenda. We were in Maui, and we saw the Maui Invitational Classic. This is when they were really young age, and Brenda says, I spent enough time in the gym. I'm not going to any gyms in Maui. And I said, Brenda, relax. That'll be the last thing we do is go to the Maui Invitational. Well, that was the last thing we did every single day. And we went to the Maui Invitational. And then Jason, by the way, ended up going and playing in the Maui Invitational at Wisconsin. So what a life-changing event going to Hawaii has been for our family. I want to talk about our family. And as we go into our kids right now, our family was revolved as a center. And as opposed to our family taking the back seat to Primerica, we built our Primerica business around our family. And the reason why I'm still here at 60-some years old and not wanting to retire is because I have no regrets. That I had built a business the right way, and that we're having more fun today than ever before. And because of that, now we have 2 of our 4 sons in the business as well. So that's really important. Let me go ahead and just start with being an intro to Jason. Jason's the first of 4 sons. He was first of 4 miracles, actually. We call him the 4 miracles. The day Jason was born changed my life forever. As some of you parents know, when you become a parent for the first time, it just changes everything. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to just introduce Jason and thank him so much for changing my life. Jason has done so much in sports and in business. I mean, he was Mr. Basketball Gatorade Player of the Year, state champion as a sophomore, went on to play at the University of Wisconsin. This is Jason in the Sweet 16. I think this was in Detroit, Jason, and he held Steph Curry to 40 points. That's his claim to fame there. So Jason will probably have a comment on that. But just thank you so much, Jason, for being so humble, being such a role model, not just to kids, but to your brothers. And now in business, he's just changing lives like I've never seen before. So Jason, I'll let you take it away from here.
Thanks, Dad. I appreciate it. Congrats to you and Mom on the milestone. You know, both you guys have been great examples of not just how to run a business, but to raise a family and to get better each and every day together. So congratulations on that. You know, with all the stuff that they've accomplished in business and in life, you know, they instilled with us at an early age, you know, ways that you can have a family have success. And, you know, they've had 4 boys. I got 3 younger brothers. I was the oldest of 4 boys. And we all, you know, every day growing up, I want to say we fought, which we did. I'm sure my mom and dad can attest to that, but we constantly competed against each other. And, you know, with that, we pushed each other to get better. And because of that, all of us were able to play Division I basketball. You know, I was at Wisconsin. My brother Zach was at Wisconsin. Matt was at UNI. And then Jordan is at Iowa. But everyone always sees the success on things. And I think that's a lot of times in Primerica. You always see the success, but you don't see what went in behind it. And we were always working when no one else was looking. You know, when we were growing up, there were hours in the gym that we had that no one else was there. You look at New Year's Eve, you know, we were always competing for who was going to be the first one to make the first basket of the new year. And, you know, in Midwest, it was, you know, obviously midnight, but then we started figuring out, well, that's the first in the Midwest. We want to be the first in the U.S. And so then we started pushing it till, you know, 11-hour time. And it just kind of always progressed more and more. And we always joked around because we'd always block Zach's shot first growing up. So he was always the first one to miss a shot during the new year, which we always got a kick out of on that. But, you know, with that, you guys, there were thousands and thousands of hours that we put in and shots that we put up through the years and practices that we went through. Very similar to your Primerica business. You know, there's thousands of hours you put in that you have to get better to be that professional. And with that, you know, I like to use analogies with athletics just because that's our background from, you know, not just ourselves, but our dad. But, you know, we put in 500,000 shots a day. And that 500,000 shots a day that we did consistently, think about how many you put in during a season. You know, you might shoot, you know, in college, 300 shots, 400 shots for the year. But in order to increase your percentages, you need to increase your repetitions. And that's what the same in athletics or in business with Primerica. You got to increase your repetitions. You got to get more across the kitchen table. Do more and do the things that you don't want to do in order to improve. So with that, you guys, we took a lot of those principles early on. Then we needed to set and establish goals. You know, even if you didn't hit them, you're further ahead than where you would have been. And I think that's what sometimes miss out on. You know, we'll talk with new reps on that. Well, I don't want to set goals because I don't want to disappoint myself. Well, that's missing the whole point. If you set your goals, and even if you fall a little short, you're a heck of a lot further ahead than where you were when you first set them. Okay. And I look at those examples, you know, when I was in high school for basketball, you know, our team had, our school hadn't been to a state tournament in 20 plus years. And we went in there, and that year we had an expectation to win, not a hope to win. And because of that, we were able to win a state title. We didn't just go to state, we ended up winning a state title. You know, in college, we won a Big Ten title and went to the Sweet 16, which my dad alluded on. You know, Steph Curry scored 40 on us, but I have to admit he scored 40 on a lot of people that tournament, whether it was Georgetown or Gonzaga. So we weren't the only ones. But, you know, with that expectation to win needs to apply towards your business as well. And that's the same thing here. You might not happen today, but it will if you keep sticking to it. And eventually things will pan out. You know, put yourself in competitive situations where you're competing against the best. And, you know, again, growing up, I'm relating it back to athletics and basketball. You know, I played against Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, those types of players. When I was in 4th grade, I was playing against 7th or 8th graders. You know, when you're in Primerica and you're playing and you're a district leader, why are you competing against other district leaders? Why aren't you competing against a division leader? Why aren't you competing against a regional leader? Yes, it's great, you're number one, but the best ones always move up to new contracts. So you're always wanting to be competing against the best, you guys. And always compete against them because those best ones that are those RLs aren't RLs anymore, okay? So with that, you guys, keep competing. take constructive criticism, even though it's hard sometimes. You know, my dad is probably the king of constructive criticism on things. He's tough on us. You know, he has an A.L. Williams mentality in Art Williams. But, you know, with that growing up on things, he was able to get me used to that for going into the real world. You know, and I had the privilege of playing for a Hall of Fame coach in Bo Ryan. And with that, he was tougher than my dad I ever could have imagined. And, you know, with that, it prepared me for the real world on that. But what my point is, you got to listen to what people are saying, not how they are saying it. And by doing that, you're able to improve upon all of that. So really kind of leading into this, what led me here and what's led our businesses to grow and exponentially over the last couple of years. You know, I got attracted to Primerica because of the freedom, the ability to own your own business, being able to help others and have a passive recurring income. You know, when I got done with college, it wasn't that I came here right away. And Matt will allude to that here in a little bit too with his story. But, you know, I was playing professionally overseas and played in Germany for a little bit. And, you know, with that, what happened was there's always a business aspect to everything. And over there, you know, if, you know, they can always look for other people to pay less that can do more. And being honest, you guys, I wasn't the fastest, couldn't jump the highest or anything. So they could always find people that were more athletic than me. And I didn't want to have something that I did be controlled by someone else. And by coming here, it allowed me to be able to control my own destiny and figure out the difference between employed versus self-employed and running a business. You know, growing up, my dad was always around, whether that was good or bad, sometimes in baseball. But, you know, in baseball, he coached our Little League team. And we were able to win state, Midwest, and go to the Cal Ripken World Series on things. But with that, you know, I remember one time, and looking back, I didn't realize it at the time, but going back on it, I was at shortstop. I looked over at my teammate that was at third base and asked where his parents were. Well, my parents are working. Well, I was like, my dad works too. I think he works. I have no idea. He's always around on things. My mom has to kick him out of the house sometimes on things to go to work. But I figured out at that point the difference between being employed and self-employed. And it really clicked with me when I was playing professionally and figuring out that when you're being employed, you are in essence an expense to the organization. So you want to be a part of that revenue equation, which is why Primerica is so powerful. You can recruit to that, you guys. I think you can always recruit to that. But to build on what we're doing and to wrap up, you guys, and what we want to do, and what are we doing to grow? We're constantly striving to get better each and every day. We're surrounding ourselves with like-minded people, not just competing against the best, but also surrounding our people with ones that want to accomplish the same thing. We're really grasping the investment business. Not that we're not doing other things, you guys, but our investment business and being able to relate with clients as far as what's going on, be in front of them, and find common grounds in order to help them accomplish their goals is huge. And what we want to do is, by setting up plans, it leads to the products that we do. And because we do such a good job, you guys, referrals happen because we take care of them and we're treating their money like it's our own. And we have a goal, you guys, to continue to grow our business. You know, my dad's base shop just here in Iowa is pushing 50 million in total securities volume year to date. You know, my business has roughly 10 million year to date. That's not including our Chicago office on top of it. You know, we had a goal at the beginning of the year to increase what we did last year. But now we're looking at it that we're still thinking small. We can still continue to grow. We want to push 100 million a year in assets as far as new assets every year. And that's not unreasonable. You know, Glenn always wants us to be unreasonable. We want to do the same thing. So to wrap up, you guys, we're excited as a family to be where we're at. But it's just the beginning. You know, there's so much more we can accomplish, not just with ourselves, but as an organization. And we're looking forward to taking things to the next level. So with that, Dad, I'm going to pass things back over to you. Appreciate the time today.
Great job, Jason. Him and Haley have just done an amazing job. Haley is the perfect partner. By the way, Jason went over $300,000 in income at 32 years old this year in 2020. In spite of all the turbulence that was going on, he grew through all of it, $300,000 earner. And just a side note, regional leader, made $100,000 as a regional leader before he came out as an RVP and did the company guidelines because he wasn't going to become an RVP until he did the necessary things to build and understand all the things that you have to do to be an RVP. $60 million under management. What an incredible feat. For a 32-year-old. So you young people out there, can you gather assets? Absolutely. Well, now let's talk about Matt. Matt just followed his brother's example. He's a regional leader right now, $15 million in assets under management at 27 years old. That's just amazing. I mean, how do you, $15 million and a regional leader? He just went over $100,000 in income as a regional leader. You get the theme here. I don't want people get RVP and hoping they're going to make it. When they become an RVP, they're going to go from 100,000, 200, 300, and then decide where they want to fall from there. But the one thing about Matt, he's going to talk about his personal story, is Matt's toughness. You can see on the screen here, Matt was at the University of Northern Iowa. He went to the NCAA tournament 2 times his junior and senior year. And Matt will always remember this. We were in Seattle, and I don't remember who you were playing, Oklahoma or Texas or someone, and you beat them in the first round. But right at the end of the game, a ball hit his finger, and the finger broke, and blood was spurting out, and it was nasty, ugly injury. And we knew, because Matt doesn't complain ever. He doesn't show hurt. And he ran out of the arena into the locker room, and we knew it was serious. Matt was in the Seattle hospital for hours, tens of hours the day before. They said, we're putting a pin in, you're done for the year. Matt says, no, we're not. I'm playing tomorrow. Okay. And Matt was in that hospital for, 14 hours, got out like at 1 o'clock in the morning. The next day he was at practice doing shoot-arounds with this on his hand, and he played that second game hurt. Some of you aren't playing hurt. Some of you guys are looking for reasons not to play, not to compete. Matt, you're always looking for ways to compete. So I just want to let you know I'm so proud of you. He's always looking at doing the right thing. He's totally coachable. He truly cares about other people. He's not a salesman. He's not a schmoozer. What he is, he cares about people. He gets them to like him and trust him. And that's why our business is exploding, because of people like Jason and Matt. So Matt, go ahead and take it from there.
Thanks, Dad. Appreciate it. And good morning, Primerica, or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. I just wanted to first take a second and say congrats to you and Mom, Dad. This show and this whole thing is really about you two and the example of success that both of you are in all areas of your life. And we all know in the family, in the office here, that this milestone for you guys should have and could have happened a long, long time ago, but you decided to focus on building our family first. And that's something that Jason, Zach, and myself and Jordan will always be thankful for, because you built this, you built the business around us, and you were always there for us. And we just couldn't be happier for what you guys have done, and will continue to do. And to be honest, you both are the reason that I decided to join Primerica. I decided to join because I saw what this business allowed you both to do. You were always at games like Jason referred to. You were always at practices. I'll never forget you, Mom, always driving me across town, no matter when it was. You were always there. We dragged Jordan along with us, but I don't think there was never a practice that I didn't get dropped off or picked up, or a game that you guys weren't there. And that means the world. And I know that the rest of the family feels the same way. The truth is, though, growing up, I never really knew what you and Mom did. I mean, I knew that it was finance and that type of stuff, but I never really knew what it was that you did. I just knew that we did well as a family. We never had to worry financially, and you guys were always there for us when we needed. And the greatest thing is Primerica changed our family's life because it gave you guys the ability to build a business. And now that's what I'm trying to do. It's what Jason's trying to do. And I'm trying to follow those footsteps that you guys have created. My story is a little bit different than Jason. I was a basketball player, as you referred to, and I graduated in 2016 from the University of Northern Iowa, just about an hour north of our office here in Iowa. And I was a double major in accounting and finance. And I decided to enter the corporate accounting world because it was intriguing to me, and I enjoyed that side of it. And I took a job in the fall of 2016 with a Big Four accounting firm. And for those of you that are familiar with accounting, there's 4 really big companies. And if you get a job with one of those 4 companies that they call the Big Four, you're going to be pretty much set for life if you stick it out. The problem is a lot of people don't stick it out for life. And I had a $50,000 a year salary at 23 years old. And like I said, I started in September 2016. I also decided in fall of 2016 that corporate America was not for me. I hated the fact that I didn't have freedom. I had no say in what I could do when I wanted to come and go. And it didn't matter how much harder I worked than the next person, those 12 people that came in with me. I could work as hard as I can and show those people above me that I'd work hard, but it didn't matter. I'd still get paid as much as they were getting paid too. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that because my sports background compared to what corporate America was teaching me were two totally different worlds. I grew up with the fact that the harder I worked, the more that I would be rewarded for those efforts that I put in. And I quickly realized that's not the case in the corporate world. I remember I called you, Dad, in December of 2016, and I told you that I was done. I wanted to leave and come to work for you. And I know we had multiple conversations about it, but then you told me one of the reasons why I should stay. I had the guaranteed salary, I had the benefits, all the good things that they tell you about corporate America. And you also told me going full-time day one in Primerica is not something that is necessarily the best option. It is for some people, but for a lot of people, you got to get licensed. There's a lot of steps that you have to go through. So after that conversation, I decided to stick it out a little longer. 3 months later, I didn't listen to you. I called my boss and put in my 2 weeks notice without asking for your permission because I didn't need it. And just so you know, I still don't need it, but I appreciate all the feedback that you give me. I gave up my $50,000 a year salary at 23 years old. And that was a really big step for me because I was joining something that I didn't really know a whole lot about. And I wasn't licensed. I didn't have what I needed to do to come full-time initially. And the thing is that the university double major that I had didn't teach me any of these financial concepts. So even though I was an accounting and finance double major, I wasn't any farther ahead than anybody else because I had to learn this business of Primerica from the ground up. And 3.5 years later, I can honestly say that I made a great decision. At first, I didn't know what I was doing, but now I can say that I did make a good decision because sometimes it doesn't happen in the same season. And now looking back on it this year, I can finally see things starting to turn. This year, I got married a couple months ago to my wife, Paige. We bought a house. And over this last month, I just crossed over my $100,000 ring. And I know it maybe didn't happen as quickly as I would have wanted to, but I've learned so much about myself for the last 3.5 years. And it hasn't been easy, but the one piece of advice that I can give for people out there is that sometimes you just have to listen to yourself and just go make a decision. And sometimes you don't need approval from people. And since I've come here, a little bit about the working environment here, working with family has been awesome. But the greatest thing that I learned is this business in Primerica is unlike anything out there because there's so many different things you can focus on. And I learned about everything over the last 3.5 years about Primerica and everything that it can offer. But like Jason started with, I've drifted more towards the investment business because that's something that I needed to do because I needed to learn how to make money. I needed to learn how to replace my salary that I was getting at KPMG. 3 years later, I've replaced my salary at KPMG with renewals on the investment business. And I'm pretty proud of that because that's something, as I've seen with Jason, is only going to grow and grow and grow. And there are plenty of things that I will continue to get better at, but working with you, Dad, and Jason and the family has been a great learning experience because, as you guys know, you're two of the best in the business, and you guys are really, really good at what you do. Our investment business, as Jason has referred to, has exploded over the last couple of years, especially this year. And I think the biggest reason is because we've made a concerted effort to increase our value gap. We're not just going to rely on the products. We're going to get to know everything out there that we can understand and be smarter and better than the next person. And we also understand, and this is kind of about the caring side of it for me, is we actually care. And we understand if we aren't there for these people, they might not have a chance if it's not for us. And many people have asked our officers, how are you doing so well? And I think Jason can attest to this, and you can as well too. We haven't really done anything differently. We've just cared a little bit more. And we've made things extremely simple for people to understand and just being there for them. And using the Zoom technology has really helped us because even though we can't get together face to face, we're in front of more people now than we ever have been. And I think that's really important. And we don't do transactions here. We develop financial plans for people and we help them through all phases of their life. We want to be there all the way from the beginning all the way into the end. And if they ever need us in between, we're going to be there for them, but we're going to have a plan throughout that whole life. And what attracted me to Primerica, now looking back on it, what was the freedom, like I said, because I wanted to be able to come and go as I please. But what that's turned into is it's turned into the freedom to run this business the right way. And I think that's really important because that's something Mom and Dad, you guys have always done with us. You always let us go our own way, always were there for us. But even in this business, I've been attracted to what I wanted to be attracted to, and you're helping me through it. But the investment business is what's really fun for me, and I'll continue to grow on that as Jason will. But now looking back on it, the people in our offices, I think, is what really brings it all together. The office we have in Iowa and Chicago, our office environment, that's what makes it so fun. Our Chicago office that we got 2 years ago has just expanded our vision so much more. And we realize that whether you're in Iowa, whether you're in Chicago, people are all the same. They just want people to care for them and want them to be successful. I didn't realize how much I enjoyed helping others until I joined Primerica. And like I talked about, working with family has been something that I didn't know could be so rewarding. There's times that we disagree all the time here in the office, but it's so cool to see the different perspectives and interactions that we have together. And the thing that I'll leave you with is the reason why I came, now looking back on it, is that freedom, but it also is because of what you and Mom have done, Dad. This is a family business for us, and we want this to go on for generations to come, and we want to help build this thing based on what you started. And I just couldn't be more appreciative to have you guys help me create my own path, always being there for all of us when we needed it to. I'm going to continue to keep getting better every day. I know you tell me all the time there's a lot more that I can be doing, and Jason as well too. But the thing that you know with us is we're always going to keep going longer than that next person. So I'm proud to be your teammate, Dad, and couldn't be happier for you and Mom.
Thank you, Matt. Amazing opportunity for you to hear this from family. What better way to sell the opportunity as we're able to share it with our family? And 2 rings this year. He got his wife a ring, and he got the Primerica ring. So I guess the ring is really the thing for you, Matt. But let's wrap up. I just have a few minutes, and I know, don't worry, home office, we will be done on time. But I thought it was more important that you listen to my sons, because that's what this is about. They're the future of this company, and we're just proud to be a part of it and help this transition into the new generation over the next 10 or 20 years. But let's talk for a second about our family. And one more time, we have 2 kids that aren't in the business. There's a point here. I'm talking about my family, but I'm talking about you. See, we spent a lot of time with Jason. We spent a lot of time with the older ones. This is Zachary. Guess what he did? Zach became a Wisconsin Badger, and he went to the Final Four and played in the championship game and was the captain of that team. MBA major, economics major. He's actually a triple major in the time he played at Wisconsin. That's success. Not just success with how much money you make, but success in all areas of your life. And then you look at the next one. Now our youngest one is Jordan. Here's our little guy. He has already broken the all-time three-point record at the University of Iowa as a junior. He's got 1 more year left. He has a chance to break the all-time Big Ten record in three-point. Guys, why am I sharing this with you? Because if you recruit someone like Keith did with me and pour your life into someone and spend a ton of time with them, it actually gets easier, because then they'll help you be an example for the next person, and raise their expectations. But to see a 6-footer that could barely even touch the net go up against 7-footers here and do the things he's doing is just amazing. Again, mental toughness and our family is what is the most important. I think we got that point across. But let's talk about success versus successful. I just have a few minutes here with you. See, you could be a success, and that's all about you. And people that usually are all about success and about themselves is they love money and they use people to make money. What I was able to do growing up was I was able to watch people that were successful. That means they became successful by helping others become successful. We showed you how to be successful in the family life. We're showing you how to be successful in the business life. We want to try to show people how to be successful in their spiritual life. Art Williams says you can't be successful unless you're successful in all areas of your life. And so that's the key. Hayden Fry was my football coach at the University of Iowa. Many of you might know him. He's a Hall of Fame coach. Hayden Fry went down as one of the greatest coaches in Big Ten football and across the country in football because of the successes he had. He had Bill Snyder, who went on to be at K-State, coached all the way until he was 80 years old. He had Barry Alvarez at Wisconsin. He had Bobby Stoops. Remember him? Went to Oklahoma. Dan McCarney went to Iowa State. Kirk Ferentz, who's now the coach at Iowa, has been there longer than Hayden was one of his coaches. See, he was successful because he was full of other successes that he had something to do with. That's what I'm asking you to do. Some of you on this call said, oh, we don't want to listen to this. This is security stuff. No, securities will provide you security. And we're not personal securities producers. We're securities reproducers. We still want to have a business model of distribution. We still want to grow, but we need to teach our team how to close business, how to make money, how to save money. I wish I had time to show you our regional leaders in our offices in Cedar Rapids and in Chicago. We've got many regional leaders that are making between 50 and 100,000. They're just trying to figure out how to build distribution and become securities reproducers. Always have someone at your side. Always teach someone how to do what you do so you can work yourself into being useless where they don't need you anymore, and that frees up time to go on and do something else. But you know what happens when you're successful? You don't want to leave. You keep doing this. Coaches don't retire because they want to get a pension and retire. Coaches don't coach anymore because they can't coach anymore health-wise. That's what you have in Primerica, is you have a chance to do what we've done, build a great family, build a great business, but also have a chance to still stay around as long as they'll let you. I get kicked out of this office a lot because I'm just Gordy. They call me stock market. Depends on what day they see. But the bottom line is they know that Gordy wants to continue to lead because I get to be in Primerica. See, I play Primerica. I don't work Primerica. We play Primerica. This is like a sport. This is an opportunity for you to be in a business will allow you to continue to do some great things. But let's talk about some things that could really help you. See, the things that could really help you is put the spotlight on other people. Get the spotlight off of yourself. If you're nervous, if you're not sure if you're sounding good, public speaking for me was like the worst thing. Talking to people on a presentation was the worst thing. Learning about numbers and reading and all the things you have to do in this business was really hard for me. But what I found out is when I started focusing on other people, all of a sudden my business started taking off because I started listening to other people and helping them get from point A to point B. See, you can't be discouraged unless you focus your efforts and your thoughts on yourself. Remember, Jason, when you were in Little League World Series, all the way that season. Matt, you were the bat boy, if you remember that, way back when, up against the fence. When someone struck out, they didn't throw their helmet. They didn't throw their bat. They didn't get mad. They didn't go sit down in the corner. They were told to get up on the fence and encourage their teammates and say, we could do this. I see a hole out there. So hit the ball out there. And I would constantly have these 10, 11, 12-year-old kids encouraging their teammates. You know why? Because then they couldn't be discouraged. If you want to prevent yourself from being discouraged, the key is to be encouraging other people. Success isn't easy, you guys. Many of you are waiting for a bargain on success. Success is never going to be on sale. You got to pay full price. See, leaders are readers. I heard Matt say this. This is an accountant coming out. You have to increase your value gap. The more you know above other people, the more valuable you are. The more you know more than other people know, your self-worth increases because your value gap increases. And the more your self-worth increases, the more your net worth increases. So leaders are readers. Some of you don't like reading. Well, learn how to read. You got to learn how to get better in this business. You look at our journey. Here I was a 2.0, maybe a GPA in college. Took me almost, I won't tell how many years, but my kids say I could have been a doctor. I wasn't the greatest student, but I got a business degree. And my kids saw that. Guess what happened? My kids were taught that more is caught than taught. So they saw their dad that wasn't so smart get a business degree. So what did Jason do? He went and got a business degree. What did Zach do? He went up them and got an MBA degree. And then you had Matt got a business degree accounting. And then you have Jordan who's already graduated in Iowa with a business degree because they saw their father and they saw their family do things. So the key is you need to increase your value gap. I look at this business right now. Some of you people out there saying, I can't pass your test. I understand that. I didn't have an easy time either. But a life, a property and casualty, a health, a Series 6, 63, 65, all the way up to a CFP. I continually increased my value gap. And what happened was because I did that, my self-worth went up, and all of a sudden my net worth went up. And then all of a sudden people wanted to set appointments with me. They wanted to come to work. See, we're not here just to recruit people. We want to build lifetime client relationships. I think, Barb, we're 4 generations deep now in terms of clients. 4 generations, you guys. They have a dynamic where they see Bohannon's have a legacy. It's just not about Gordy. It's about Jason and Matt and the rest of the people, and Barb and Brad and the rest of the people in this office. But we have incredible leaders that we have built relationships with over the life. See, we don't have a bunch of recruits that come in and we don't see them. That happens, obviously. But we have a lot of recruits that come in this business, have been with us for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Look at Keisha Pell. We've been business partners for 38 years. still best friends, still building a business together. Do we agree? Usually we don't, but we get through it because we want to become the best that we could be, and we want to be an example. But here's what I want to leave you with. In order for things to change, you have to change. In order for things to get better, you've got to get better. And if you would just focus on this 2020, our vision, I'll leave you with this. Our vision in 2020 has always been, I verbalized it, $1 billion in assets under management and $1 million in income. That was our goal. Well, guess what happened? We went over $1 billion in assets under management in 2020, and we went over $1 million in income in 2020. But it didn't happen at the beginning of the year. It happened after all the turbulent stuff went on. And that's when I stood up and I told Glenn that you could count on me, that I'm going to do this thing in spite of this. I'm going to show up at the office every single day. We're going to keep this office open safely. We're going to be there on Zoom. We're going to be there for our clients. We're going to be there for our recruits. And I stood up and I said, I'm going to be here for you. Count on me. And Glenn knows that because I made that call with him, and I want to let him know that he trained his team well, that we are going to respond. And have we responded? You know we've responded. And I want to take the opportunity to take credit for this, because I told Glenn that one day, and I think it was March, I said, Glenn, we need to turn our adversity into our advantage. And he coined that because we knew that the law of growth is struggle. We knew that if we could overcome this and go from a 2020 vision to a 2020 focus, a laser beam focus where nothing's going to distract you, where you're going to stay focused in an unfocused world, that we are going to not only set up a great 2020, but we're going to set up a decade of dominance. Thank you so much. I love being your teammate. Looking forward to building a business with you for many years to come. Thank you, Primerica.
Hey. What is this ABC stuff in back of you? Oh wait, we're on live. Anthony, you're recording live, dude. Call me when you're done, okay?
think they're watching for. And we talked a little bit earlier about some of the reasons why there's a conflict between effort and Trump on Capitol Hill. I've covered the arguments back and forth about renaming bases and roads and other things in the military that are being better. You're so fucking good at my God.
basically transfer payments to the consumer from the government. One way I expected what would be increases was once over the 6-week period, now days of last spring. During that 6-week period, the deficit increased more than the last 5 recessions cumulatively combined. So if you put the 73-75 recession, with the 88-82 recession, the 1991, with the early 2000s and the Great Recession, and cumulatively combined the increase in the deficit, we exceeded that in 6 weeks this year. The other thing I would say is the activity of the Fed.
Asking.
There have been 4 Republican presidents in the past 40 years and 2 Democratic ones, and the media all those races. Also, like Trump, Cruz, and McDaniel, Lindsey Graham accepted the media's projection in 2016. Now, First Lady Melania Trump has privately discussed whether President Trump should acknowledge his defeat. So has his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, sources tell CNN. But Kushner is walking a fine line, also urging the president to hold rallies pushing for boot camps. Jason Miller, an aide, and Rudy Giuliani also making that argument. You know those guys, the ones who take their friends out to the bar after a breakup, trying to get him some digits and take his mind off of things. But most of the president's friends are insisting America will just come around, like former Congressman Jason Chaffetz, currently a Fox talking head.
Let's remember that counties administer this election. States certify those elections, not the national media. There's not a single state in the United States that has certified their election yet.
But like the others, he didn't have an issue hours after the media called in for Trump. Quote, President-elect Trump, congratulations. Chaffetz over the weekend went on to say this.
Donald Trump, when he won his victory speech, first thing he did was thank and honor Hillary Clinton. Joe Biden, in his speech last night, never even mentioned Donald Trump directly, did not thank him for his service, did not honor Donald Trump and all the success he had in this country.
Trump thanked Hillary Clinton. Well, Hillary Clinton conceded the thanks. Donald Trump hasn't conceded. It's the equivalent of American voters breaking up with him, but he just let that call go to voicemail. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. Doesn't mean America hasn't found someone else that needs for 4 more years. And coming up, yet another White House official has tested positive for the coronavirus after attending an election night party. This time it is in person. Plus, we're going to break down where the vote count stands in battleground states like Georgia and Arizona with no winner has been called yet.
If you, like many people, are covered by both Medicare and your state's Medicaid, here's something important to know. Medicare annual enrollment is here and ends December 7th. So now's a great time to look at a United Healthcare Dual Complete Plan. It could give you even more health benefits than you already have. Call now to see if you're eligible. Medicaid gives you benefits, and Medicare gives you some too. But a United Healthcare Dual Complete Plan can add even more benefits and features compared to original Medicare, like $0 copays for all covered prescriptions. More dental coverage too. Most plans even give you over $600 in credits for health items. Plus, up to $50 for healthy foods each month. All at no extra cost to you. Hurry, annual enrollment ends December 7th. So if you have Medicare and Medicaid, call now to see if you're eligible or to enroll in the Dual Complete Plan from United Healthcare. It's only a matter of time until your check engine light comes on, or worse yet, your car needs repair. That could be the big surprise auto repair bill. Those repairs are more expensive than ever. A new engine could be over $5,000. A new transmission over $4,000. That's why it's so important you call CarShield today. CarShield is the #1 auto protection company in the country. I like CarShield because they were reliable, they were affordable, and they were trustworthy. I think everybody should have CarShield. Once your manufacturer's warranty is expired, there's just no big bill. Who needs the repairs? CarShield is there for it. Now it's your turn to get the peace of mind that comes from having CarShield, so you can worry less about auto repairs. Call or go online right now. Get CarShield for yourself. Friendly, knowledgeable, money-saving representatives are available 24/7. So if your car is 20 years old or newer, just tell us the make and model of your car or truck to get an instant clear quote. In a matter of minutes, you can be covered.
I was elated that I had CarShield. I was more than happy.
There's no fun when you have a car that's broken and you can't pay for it to get it fixed. Here's how CarShield works. When your car needs repair, you take it to your favorite mechanic or even your dealer, and CarShield gets them paid directly. That's why CarShield is America's #1 auto protection provider. CarShield is just the best thing to take away the fear that something is going to go wrong with your car, because it will. And CarShield is going to be there to back you up. My experience with CarShield is that they absolutely come through every time I need it.
If my car breaks down, I can count on CarShield
Now it's the time to make the smart choice and protect yourself from sky-high auto repair bills. Call now for a free instant protection phone quote. It's only a matter of time till repairs are needed. And once your car breaks down, it's too late. Call 1-800-915-9597 or go to carshield.com. Get covered today. This election week, more Americans got their news from CNN than any other source. Thank you, America, for trusting us when it matters most. This is Joe. He used to have bad breath. Now he uses a capsule of TheraBreath. His breath smells great all around. This is Steve. He used to have gum problems. Now he uses TheraBreath, clinically proven ingredients, and his gum problems have vanished. This is Kate. She always wanted her smile to shine. Now she uses a capsule of TheraBreath to give her the healthy, sparkly smile she always wanted. TheraBreath, it's a better mouthwash. Walmart, Target, and other home stores. This is CNN. More people get their news from CNN than any other news source.
It's been 28 years since a Democratic presidential nominee has won Georgia, Bill Clinton doing it back in 1992, and now President-elect Joe Biden hopes to flip the state. We are waiting on a final tally for both Georgia and Arizona. We're also still watching Pennsylvania, which secured the margin of victory for Biden in the quest for 270 electoral votes. It's a win, which is turning out to be bigger than was initially thought. I want to bring in CNN political director David Chalian. And, first, David, just give us the latest on Georgia and where things stand for Biden and President Trump.
Yeah, take a look at the latest Georgia vote totals that we have. And what you see is that Joe Biden has consistently been increasing his lead since last week. He's now 10,676 votes ahead of Donald Trump in Georgia. You see 49.5% to 49.3%. Brianna, this is a race that is almost certainly going to go to a recount. The Secretary of State has indicated that, and elections officials have prepared for that and indicated that is likely what is going to occur here. That being said, a 10,000 vote lead is a very hard thing to turn around in a recount if you look at the history of recounts. So I'm not sure we should expect Joe Biden to all of a sudden be overtaken by Donald Trump in a recount, but that does look like where it's headed.
And what about Arizona and Pennsylvania?
Yeah, so Arizona is a different story, right? What we've seen is Donald Trump able to narrow the gap since last week with Joe Biden in Arizona. But Joe Biden still has a healthy margin. He's got 17,058 votes more than Donald Trump does, 49.5% to 48.9%. So you see that's a 0.6% difference there between the two candidates. And the recount trigger in Arizona is so narrow that it is unlikely this is to go to a recount. We'll wait for, I think there are some 70,000 or so votes still outstanding that we expect to be counted and reported in. So we'll see. But all the trend indicates there Donald Trump still may end up losing Arizona, even by a smaller margin than that, though. And then in Pennsylvania, as you see, what I think is so interesting here, as you know, Biden's lead has continually increased. He's now over 45,514 votes ahead. Remember, Donald Trump won Pennsylvania 4 years ago, part of busting through that blue wall that how he won the White House. He won it by some 44,000 votes in Pennsylvania. So now Joe Biden's vote margin in Pennsylvania is actually greater than Donald Trump's was 4 years ago.
And, now all eyes are really on Georgia and the Senate races there, which are going to have two likely runoffs. Because if Joe Biden wants to have more freedom to do things, he's going to want a Senate majority. Tell us what we're seeing there.
Yeah, I mean, balance with the whole United States Senate does indeed depend on what is going on in these Georgia Senate races. So as you noted, they're having two runoff elections, which is kind of amazing in and of itself. And the fact that Georgia seems to have flipped from red to blue in the presidential and is just sort of the center of the political universe over these next many weeks. January 5th is the date. Take a look. The first race is the John Ossoff, he's the Democrat there on the left side of your screen, nominee versus incumbent Republican David Perdue. And then Reverend Raphael Warnock there on the right side is in the other race. But here you see the vote totals from the initial run. And nobody got 50% plus one for that, but that's what sends it to a runoff. Although David Perdue did have a higher vote total there. And in the other race, it was sort of a multi-candidate split. Reverend Warnock and Kelly Loeffler, the incumbent Republican senator there who was appointed to that seat, head to the runoff. Nobody got even close to 50% plus one there. So circle January 5th on your calendar, 2 Georgia Senate races, and the outcome could determine which party controls the United States Senate.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to watch there in Georgia. David Chalian, thank you so much. It's great to see you. And we have some breaking news. President Trump just fired his defense secretary, Mark Esper. He did it with a tweet here in the last hour. Plus, the U.S. has just crossed 10 million coronavirus cases. This is a grim milestone heading into what is going to be an even tougher winter.
Our trust has been broken in our leaders, in our institutions, even with some of our friends. And we are hurting. Now more than ever, we need each other to listen, to love one another, to rebuild those bonds. Because trust shows up even when we're good in each other. It's what makes us human. And when we trust one another, that is when we can truly achieve great things.
Introducing the all-new The all-new Chevy Trailblazer. Life's journey just better. Imagine right now, it's all on us. Everything's built to this moment. Believe me, it's extraordinary. So many. There's somebody looking out. Should a jelly be here anymore? Benefits. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and this is CNN. This is CNN breaking news.
48 hours after the presidential election that was called for Joe Biden, President Trump is forcing out his defense secretary, Mark Esper, who fired him in a tweet last hour. Quote, Mark Esper has been terminated. I would like to thank him for his service. Esper had his resignation letter ready to go. He was fully aware of the strained relationship with President Trump, the bold spot that put him in. It's a risk that he met after Esper said he did not support using active duty troops to calm protests nationwide during the summer. I want to talk now with our CNN head correspondent Barbara Starr, we have CNN White House correspondent David Collins as well. What more do you know about the president's decision to fire his defense secretary?
Well, White House officials were surprised it took this long for the president to do it because they thought it was going to come immediately after Tuesday. But of course, the president was a little bit distracted last week as he was contesting the outcome of this election. So now we are seeing this happen now as the writing had been on the wall for some time because the president and as for their relationship, they flashed over the summer over those protests of the president wanting to use active duty troops to help control them. Something that Esper publicly said, I believe it was his last briefing, Barbara can check me on that he did not agree with the Insurrection Act, even though that was something the president had floated publicly. And so the president had characterized Esper as a yes man, once referring to him as Yesper at a press conference. So it's notable that this was actually broken over and Esper did not agree with the president on this. But I also think around what we're seeing is trying to take control of something that he is in charge of. Purging his cabinet if he wants to, as we know, is something that was indicated several weeks ago, while he can't control the outcome of the election, something that he is actively trying to contest. And so I think this is not going to be a very quiet transition for Donald Trump. I don't think many people believe that, but the fact that this is happening so soon after the election really goes to show that.
And Barbara, I wonder, how is this received over at the Pentagon?
Well, I think amongst almost everyone here, except perhaps for the secretary, a good deal of surprise at the actual timing at this hour today. You know, they knew it was potentially coming out. I think anybody expected it today as they came to work. Look, Esper may well consider this, at the end of the day, a badge of honor to be fired by Donald Trump. He is very committed to what he decided, that the Insurrection Act was not necessary, that American troops do not belong on the streets of this country against American citizens peacefully protesting. He did not believe that they were needed, and he stands by that to this day. An acting defense secretary is coming in, Chris Miller, currently the head of counterterrorism, a former relatively junior DOD official. He will have his work cut out for him. Being a defense secretary carries enormous global power, and it really stops at the authority you have to move troops around the world. This is essentially what being defense secretary is all about at the end of the day. Looking after U.S. military troops, making sure they are trained and equipped to go into battle, making sure U.S. troops are where they need to be and not where they don't need to be. Mr. Trump has been very adamant that he wants to consider bringing all troops home, for example, by Christmas from Afghanistan. He has military advice from the Pentagon that that's a terrible idea. They still need to be there because of the level of violence. He wants to bring troops home eventually, if not sooner, fairly quickly, from Iraq, from Syria, from many places around the globe. The Pentagon has been giving him cautionary advice on that, not to dismantle forward U.S. military presence around the globe, that it's an important pushback against adversaries and it supports allies. Will this acting secretary, between now and inauguration day, really have the clout to push back against the White House? The best military advice that is coming from the Joint Chiefs of Staff, from commanders around the globe who know their areas of operation. This is going to be one of the key questions. The other thing this new acting secretary is facing, the COVID pandemic, is very much part of military life. U.S. troops are getting it, not at the rate civilians are. But just on Friday, we saw 60 U.S. military personnel being deployed to city hospitals in El Paso, Texas, to try and help those overworked healthcare workers where they are having a really terrible increase in COVID down in Texas. So the U.S. military will still be very much part of the COVID response. Whether Mr. Trump wants to embrace that or not, that is something that will be on the desk of this new acting secretary between now and inauguration day. The $700 billion plus defense spending bill has to get through Congress. Mr. Trump threatening to veto that if the language is maintained that would rename Army bases named after Confederate generals. That may be one of the big first losses that Mr. Trump is facing post-election here at the Pentagon, Brianna.
Barbara and Kayla, thank you so much to both of you. I want to talk now with our CNN military analyst, Lieutenant General Mark Kirtley, who's retired. He's a former Army Commanding General of Europe in the 7th Army. What is your reaction? And I say this knowing that this may not just be a one-off, sir. This may be an indication of other folks who could be losing their jobs soon in the administration. What's your reaction?
That's what's most concerning to me, Brianna. We can talk all day about the personalities and the conflicts within Washington, D.C. But truthfully, this is not surprising to a lot of people, as Barbara mentioned. The Pentagon and what Secretary Esper runs as the Secretary of Defense is the largest organization in government. And during this transition period, they become increasingly important, especially as our allies and friends, as well as our foes around the world, see the kind of shape the United States is in with this very contentious election. So we're talking about a 2.5-month time frame where we have a relatively junior acting Secretary of Defense. Now, Mr. Miller, by all accounts, has a great reputation and he's a great individual, but he is junior. And I would suggest that it will take him a long time to learn the intricacies of being Secretary of Defense, more than 2.5 months if he had it available. But the other thing we have to consider is this is a dangerous time for the U.S. government. The transition period between governments, other allies and partners, as well as those around the world, see us being in a state where they can take advantage or an opportunity. And I would say that the Secretary of Defense is probably the most important. Then you talk about the intelligence community, the head of the CIA, the head of the FBI, and then Homeland Security in terms of threats to the United States during this very intense period. Barbara brought up a very good point when she talked about the desire for the military to push back on the Insurrection Act. If we see increasing domestic terrorist activity, I think you're going to see President Trump wanting to call out the martial law, the Insurrection Act again, and it would be easier not to have a Secretary Esper in place because he had promised to push back on that until he got the right reasons to do so. All of those factors play a part in a very irrational move by the president, but not unexpected.
Well, easier, I will say at this point, for someone to choose to stand up for what is right versus a president who has not been elected. So we'll see what choices folks make here in the coming months. General Herdling, thank you so much. It's great to see you. The U.S. has just surpassed 10 million cases of coronavirus. President-elect Joe Biden got to work today on how he's going to tackle this pandemic. We'll have those details next. Plus, there's breaking news from Pfizer that its vaccine has proven to be more than 90% effective. We'll have CNN's Sanjay Gupta, who just spoke to the CEO. He's going to join us live. And Housing Secretary Ben Carson has tested positive for coronavirus. One of 6 people who were at the president's election night party.
Any USAA insurance for this season. When being a fan on the budget gets tough, our agents do the legwork, so saving on auto insurance is easy. USAA, what you're made of, we're looking for.
Got a cheeseburger deal? Want a hamburger, some fries, a drink, nugget? Boom, rewarded with the Wendy's 4 for $4 on Grubhub.
They're just kids, hungry, homeless, and abused kids often sleep on the street. Yeah, more than ever. This place alone, Covenant House is rescuing and protecting kids going through that deep crisis. We provide safe shelter outcomes, but and no child is ever turned away. Please call the Blue Line You'll provide safe shelter, and your gift will show our kids their love. Homeless kids are afraid with no roads to turn.
You want to know that somewhere you can for covering your house.
Please call now. With your gift of $90 a month, you'll save this song. Show your hands. Please don't wait. In our national crisis, your gift will light up child needs. Please call or go to safeplacetosleep.com. Saving lives.
We're Carvana, the company who invented car vending machines and buying a car 100% online. Now we created a brand new way to sell your car, whether it's a few years old or dinosaur old. We want to buy your car. Go to Carvana and enter your license plate, answer questions, and our techno wizardry calculates your car's value and gives you a real offer in seconds. When you're ready, we'll come to you, pay you on the spot, and pick up your car. That's it. So ditch the old ways of your car and say hello to the new way at Carvana.
Experience Boost has helped millions of people. How can it help you?
Oh, 46 points. I just boosted 15 points with Experience Boost. This is incredible.
Boost your credit scores instant, free, only at Experian.com/boost.
Oh. What are you doing?
Our quest.
It's after.
When you start with a better half you can do no wrong. I have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now there's Sky Rizzy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months after just 2 doses.
Skyrizzi may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or coughs, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
I feel free to bare my skin. Visit skyrizzy.com. Closed captioning brought to you by mesobook.com. Mesothelioma is all we do. For over 10 years, we have offered a free book on mesothelioma. Call 1-800-400-2802.
President-elect Joe Biden has recently establishing his future administration's top priority, which is tackling this pandemic. We just learned the total number of cases in the U.S. is now surpassing 10 million. Biden met today with his COVID advisory panel. He's pushing his plan for more PPE and testing nationwide. Here was the president-elect just a short time ago.
Projections still indicate we could lose 200,000 more lives in the coming months before a vaccine can be made widely available. So we can't forego the important work that needs to be done between now and then. This election is over. It's time to put aside the partisanship. A mask remains the most potent weapon against the virus. Today's news does not change that urgent reality. I won't be president until January 20th. But my message today is to everyone is this. Doesn't matter who you voted for, where you stood before election day. It doesn't matter your party, your point of view. We can save tens of thousands of lives if everyone would just wear a mask in the next few months. Not Democrat or Republican, it's American.
President Trump, meanwhile, continues to fight back on the results of the election with unfounded claims that it was stolen from him and preventing the Biden transition from critical funding. We'll have more on that. First, though, to CNN's Jessica Dean. She is covering the president-elect in Wilmington, Delaware. And Jessica, Joe Biden emphasizing science and how that will determine the course of action. Yes, Mariana, it is quite a contrast to what we have heard from President Trump and his administration. President-elect Biden speaking today, laying out his plan. This is all about telegraphing to the American people that they are ready to do the work. He put together his advisory board, the transition, announcing that advisory board earlier this morning. And notably on that board, Rick Wright, the Trump administration whistleblower who was waving the flag early in all of this, had said that the Trump administration dismissed his concerns, and that ultimately led to his ouster. So again, those contrasts there. But hearing from President-elect Biden today, he laid out to the American people what they want to do. He talked about expanding access to free testing.
about increasing the availability of PPE, how they want to make sure that they have guidance that is across the board so everything is uniform, that it's not hodgepodge. They have a lot of ideas that have been briefed on by many of these people that are now on his board for months now as a candidate. Now that he is president-elect, the real work begins. And Biden and his entire team know that. They know that this is going to be a tremendous amount of work. Like he said today, that they're going to spare no expense. They're going to throw everything they've got at getting this pandemic under control. And Brianna, to that point, that's the promise he made to the American people, that he had a plan, he and Kamala Harris had a plan that they could get this virus under control and help return America back to some semblance of normalcy. So we're seeing those first steps today, but also we just heard in his remarks there, we've heard a lot about unity still. And we can expect him to continue to come back to that message again and again. It's about getting this virus under control for them, but also, as we've heard him say many times, healing the nation, bringing the nation together. All right, it is a tall order, Jessica Dean. Thank you so much, live from Delaware for us. President Trump's refusal to concede is not just about politics. It has a practical impact that could set back the Joe Biden administration. So far, Emily Murphy, who's the Trump appointee who leads the agency in charge of beginning the transition process, has yet to recognize Biden and release millions of dollars to help Biden's team, specifically with matters of national security. Chris Liu is joining me now. He ran President Obama's transition team back in 2008. He is currently a senior fellow at the University of Virginia's Miller Center. And Chris, just explain to us what normally would be happening today during a normal transfer of power in one. It's so important as this president-elect moves forward. What would normally be happening?
Brianna, let me go back to 2008. On election night, the networks called the race for Barack Obama at 11 p.m. And within about 2 hours, a letter was sent from the GSA administrator. I have it right here. A letter was sent to me saying that he had ascertained that Obama and Biden were the president-elect and vice president-elect, and it provided for government facilities and money and support to that effort. So in any normal transition, we wouldn't even be talking about the GSA administrator. We wouldn't even know who this person was because this would have automatically happened.
Okay, so in the meantime, once that money, once those facilities are, I guess, sort of unleashed in a way or handed over to the president-elect, what does that allow them to do? Is there something that Biden and his transition is unable to do right now because of this call that the TSA administrator is?
Well, so there's various things. One is the facilities. Right now, the Biden team already has access to a government facility. That's as a result of a legislative change that happened in 2010. They don't have access to several $1 million of federal funding, which would allow them to pay their staff. Beyond that, the broader issue is what access they will have to career funding and access to all of the dozens and dozens of federal agencies whose leadership will turn over next January 20th. That's really critical because that allows the Biden team, any transition team, to do a deep dive into these agencies. And what's unclear at this moment is whether this lack of cooperation by TSA will extend to all federal agencies.
I also wonder, we know that when there was this transition from Obama to Trump, there was a lack of interest a lot of times of the transition team trying to understand and do that deep dive in the agencies. Do you think even when it becomes clear that they are going to move forward and cooperate, that they're going to be particularly helpful in a way that really puts the country first?
I hope they are helpful, but I think it's also important to understand that in general, the transition process is overseen by career officials. When I was the outgoing Deputy Secretary of Labor, I nominally managed the transition from Obama to Trump, but it really was handled by career officials who have apparently been doing their work and preparing binders of materials to present. So the question will become is when will those career officials be stopped from doing the work that they've already planned to do by senior political people in those agencies?
Right now, Joe Biden has put in place his COVID panel, his experts on COVID. What else can he do?
Well, I think it's continuing to plan behind the scenes as any transition does. It's not only looking for potential personnel for all federal agencies, it's trying to translate the policy proposals that were made during the campaign into potential legislation, into potential regulation. It's also, as I mentioned, it's preparing to take over for these agencies. And it's important to understand why this cooperation is so important. It's not just the pandemic, it's the economic recession, but it's also, this is a critical moment, in our nation's history. And transitions are often very, very difficult. They often have national security, homeland security risks. So it's critical for the president to put the national interest above the political interest, because this affects more than just him. This affects all the American people.
Yeah, Chris Liu, thank you so much. You have expertise not many people have. We appreciate you sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Still ahead, I'm going to speak to an attorney who represented President Bush in the 2000 recount. We'll hear what he makes of the president's claims of election fraud, unfounded claims. Plus, the markets are way up today on this news that Pfizer's vaccine is showing signs of being more than 90% effective. Sanjay Gupta's interview with the company's CEO is next.
Still your best friend, and now your co-pilot. Still a father, but now a friend. Still an electric car, just more electrifying. Still a night out, but everything fits in. Still hard work, just always. Still a legend, just more legendary. Making life's journey just better.
When it comes to buying a home, they say cash is king. But you're a queen, and that's just as powerful. You're armed with a verified approval from Rocketwood. Sellers know your offer is good, so your bid has the strength to compete with cash offers. Now grab your crown and rule. That castle is yours. So when you need an edge in the bidding war, Rocket can.
It's only a matter of time until your check engine light comes up, or worse yet, your car needs repair. That could mean a big surprise auto repair bill. Those repairs are more expensive than ever. A new engine can be over $5,000. A new transmission over $4,000. That's why it's so important you call CarShield today. CarShield is the #1 auto protection company in the country.
I like CarShield because they were reliable, they were affordable, and they were trustworthy. I think everybody should have CarShield. Once your manufacturer's warranty is expired, there's just no big bill. If you needed repairs, CarShield was there for it.
Now it's your turn to get the peace of mind that comes with having CarShield, so you can worry less about auto repairs. Call or go online right now to get CarShield for yourself. Friendly, knowledgeable, money-saving representatives are available 24 hours a day. So if your car is 20 years old or newer, just tell us the make and model of your car or truck to get an instant plan quote. In a matter of minutes, you can be covered.
I was elated that I had CarShield. I was more than happy.
There's no fun when you have a car that's broken.
Here's how CarShield works. When your car needs repair, you take it to your favorite mechanic or even your dealer, and CarShield gets them paid directly. That's why CarShield is America's #1 auto protection provider.
CarShield is just the best thing to take away the fear that something is going to go wrong with your car, because it will. And CarShield is going to be there to back you. My experience with CarShield is that they absolutely come through every time.
If my car breaks down, I can count on CarShield to cover for me. CarShield definitely has my back.
Now it's the time to make the smart choice and protect yourself from sky-high auto repair bills. Call now for a free and instant protection plan quote. It's only a matter of time. Once your car breaks down, it's too late. Call 1-800-915-9597 or go to carshield.com. Cover today. Returns. Business and marketing versus manning and current. Watch Capital One's The Champions for Change. Bombs, November 27th at 3 on TNT PR app.
Every weeknight, we'll have our biggest headlines, politics, business news, finance, entertainment, pop culture, trending. You'll find on daily
or is this going to be a problem that we push off to the next generation, the generation after that?
We get to the point, everything you need to know, taking these forms of what's happening in the world.
In these 12, we're making sure whatever time you start your day, you've got your covered. If you're still an early riser, our morning team brings you the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, and stories happening. If you're getting up early these days, stay with News 12 for updated local news and information throughout the day. Stay current, stay informed, stay local. News 12. Live coverage at 5 a.m.
In Wilmington, Delaware, and this is one
Coronavirus cases in the United States are crossing yet another devastating threshold, 10 million documented cases, and the 5 highest days of new cases since the pandemic began in March have all happened here in the past 5 days. Almost 106,000 new cases were reported yesterday. 43 states are seeing increases in new cases. 0 states are reporting decreases in cases. Of all of the people being tested in the past 7 days, more than 8% are testing positive. And with cooler temperatures pushing people indoors, this is something that health experts predicted would happen. Right now, nearly 57,000 Americans are hospitalized with coronavirus, and 19 states, I should say, are breaking records for hospitalizations. Some states are ramping up regulations. You saw this in Utah, where today mandate for face coverings in public went into effect. But among the grim numbers, there is a bright spot, and that is that the pharmaceutical giant Pfizer is reporting early data from its vaccine trial that shows it to be more than 90% effective. So let's break all of this down. There were 43,000 study participants. Half received the vaccine, half received a placebo. And then of those 43,000, only 94 people became ill with COVID-19, and only 10% of those who were sickened were people who had actually received the vaccine. Now, Pfizer could apply for emergency use approval later this month. CNN's Dr. Sanjay Gupta just talked to Pfizer's CEO about the company's vaccine trial, where he says this is a game changer.
90% is a game changer. 90%, now you are hoping to have a tool in your war against this pandemic that could be significantly effective. How long this protection will last is something that we don't know right now, but it's part of the objective of the study. We will follow up the 44,000 people that they received, they are part of this study for 2 years. And during this follow-up, obviously, we will be looking also the durability of the immune responses.
One of the things that comes up is that obviously a lot of people who get exposed to this virus recover on their own anyway or have mild disease. What can we say about the protection of this vaccine, if anything? What can we say about protection against serious COVID disease versus medium, moderate versus mild disease?
Both excellent questions. We will know all these answers when the study finishes, which, by the way, I expect to be completed with 164 cases at like this month. And right now, the independent individuals doing the data have disclosed to us only the efficacy in non-previously infected patients. But we have a second primary point that is taking also people, but all people, irrelevant if they were previously infected. We have a secondary endpoints about severe disease. We have also secondary endpoints about efficacy at 14 days. So we will know a lot of this information when the study is completed, and of course when we submit data to the FDA.
There's sort of 3 ingredients that we talked about in order for this to work. We have show that it's effective. We talked about that. Safety data, you'll have a better idea by the end of this month. And then obviously people have to get it. And there's 2 issues: the distribution of the vaccine, and the second one is trust, I guess, of the vaccine. When you talk about manufacturing and distribution, I read your comments. I think you said there's hundreds of thousands of doses that have already been manufactured, maybe tens of millions by the end of the year, 100 million by March. Who gets that?
We are in a good situation. We have up to 50 million doses this year globally. I believe we are in a very, very good situation. We have 1.3 billion doses globally next year. Who will get this vaccine? We have two separate manufacturing lines. One is in the US, because sites in St. Louis, in Andover, in Wisconsin, and in Kalamazoo, in Mexico. And those are what we producing for America. And then we have a second one, the manufacturing side of Germany, Belgium, and they produce for the rest of the world. I hope that other vaccines will become successful as well, because, as I said, the demand will be much higher than produced. But also, even the very high. So it's frankly surprised to be actually. We are revisiting plans now to see how much more if anything we can produce.
Should we read anything in the fact that this got announced right after the election?
Yes, the science brought it exactly this time. We announced it at the moment we learned about it. And I said multiple times that the election for us is an artificial timeline. I was predicting that this will happen before the end of October, and that's what it happened with later, because this is when science broke.
And Sanjay is learning this now, and Sanjay seems extremely confident about this, the CEO of Pfizer does. Do you agree that this could be a game changer for the pandemic?
Yeah, well, I think on the whole, if everything sort of plays out the way that it's forecasted, some of that is a forecast, Brianna, then I think it could be very significant. I mean, the idea that a vaccine would be 90% effective in terms of preventing people from getting infected is a big deal when you're thinking about the trajectory of this pandemic right now. The point that I was trying to raise with you, Brianna, was that the vast majority of people who get this do recover, right? 80% have minimal or no symptoms. The real question is, does this vaccine help prevent consequential disease in people who are more vulnerable? Can it reduce the severity of disease as well, and so to help save lives? We don't have that sort of data yet. We still don't have all the safety data yet. There's going to be these huge manufacturing challenges, but if all that pans out, I mean, this would be a significant tool.
Yeah, he says maybe later this month. It's like, we want this information now, right? This is so crucial to get this information. I also, Sanjay, wanted to ask you about the latest administration official who tested positive, which is Housing Secretary Ben Carson. Notable because he's actually a renowned physician, but he attended the election night party where White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and every other attendee was not wearing a mask. Meadows, of course, since he's tested positive. What do you make of this White House, this administration still not following the CDC guidelines, and the fact that you have a physician who is?
Yeah, I mean, I've known Ben Carson for a long time. He's a neurosurgeon. I'm a neurosurgeon. I've known him for my career. We actually trained at the same place and, ahead of me, but still, we've known each other for a long time. I was very surprised for that reason, Brianna. I mean, as a medical person, you sort of understand this virus better. You understand the purpose and the benefits of wearing a mask. I think it just goes to show just how strong that message is within the White House, because I guarantee you, Ben Carson knows the right thing to do. It's not that he's not educated about this, he just is not doing it. And he knows that he'll be sending a message by not doing it, because he is a widely regarded physician, as you point out. So I was surprised by it in one way, as someone I've known for 20 years, Ben Carson, but not surprised by it because the vortex inside the White House is so powerful. This message of not doing the right thing with masks.
Yeah, it certainly is. Sanjay, thank you so much for sharing that interview with us.
Yeah, thank you.
We have much more on our breaking news. Next, President Trump firing his defense secretary just 48 hours after officially losing the election. I'll be speaking to President Obama's former defense secretary, Lieutenant Panetta, here in moments.
This election week, more Americans got their news from CNN than any other source. Thank you, America, for trusting us when it matters most.
Philadelphia cream cheese, made with fresh milk and real cream, makes your recipe
Their holiday favorites, the holidays are made with them. There's a revolutionary way to get drug-free, fast-acting relief from pain. It's called Curavive.
Exactly. I do everything I can to take care of my body, and a big part of that is trying to stay as natural as possible.
Curavive uses distinct laser light to reduce inflammation and swelling.
If you're someone who deals with back pain, I would definitely suggest trying out Curavive. Don't waste another day.
Call now, 888-901-1837 or shopcuravive.com. Hey, Taylor, what's up? How you doing?
Guess what? I just had my 13th surgery.
Dude, I just had my 17th surgery.
You're busy.
Well, I am over
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm encouraged by seeing how people are coming together to help each other during times like these.
Hospital's building is there for us. Imagine if I didn't get my surgery. Who knows what would happen?
Same for me. I know my son is hospital will continue to take care of kids like us who need them most. All because of people like you.
Like me?
No, the people watching us right now at home.
Those people.
Caleb and I know not everyone can help right now. But for those of you who we hope you'll call the special numbers on your screen right now.
Nobody in the future are amazing. And keep helping kids like us. We need them now and in the years to come.
Your gift will make a difference for kids like us. Okay, go on the turkey. With your gift of $19 a month, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue as a thank you. If you're helping with your monthly support.
So, what are you waiting for? You can use your phone and call or yourson.org to give and join with thousands of other generous people who change lives with their gifts every day.
I think that's about it, buddy. Good job.
My pleasure. Yes. Please contact us or visit with all the other directors mission, or you can go to gosign.org to give right away.
Big and small, you get helps all. Thank you.
Quickly, someone out there needs help us on their cards or Liberty Mutual. So we only pay for
Only pay $14. Liberty, 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 Liberty. Now is the time for a new bath from Bathfit. Every Bathfit bath is installed quickly, safely, and beautifully with a lifetime warranty. Go from old to new, from warm to wow. The beautiful bath you've always wanted, done right, installed by one expert technician, all in one day. Many moments like these for 35 years, and we're here to help you get started. Book your free virtual or in-home design consultation today. Closed captioning brought to you by Sokolov Law. Call 800-891-5400 today. As locally owned business, all that $30 billion in trust funds set aside. You may be entitled to a portion of that. All weighing hundreds at $100.
We are more now on our breaking news. 2 days after the election is called for Joe Biden, President Trump firing his defense secretary, Mark Esper, and doing this with a tweet. I want to bring in former defense secretary Leon Panetta to talk about this. He's also a former CIA director for the White House staff. What does this mean for the country? It's extremely unusual for this to be maybe, some tinkering after a re-election win, but firing the defense secretary right after an election that a president lost. What is this going to mean to the country?
Well, it's just confirmation that the president's going to continue to keep the country in turmoil. He's not going to leave office gracefully. He's going to leave the office of the presidency. And I think this is further proof that he's going to go after people for one reason or another. This is probably the beginning of a lot of tweets for people that he doesn't like within his own administration. But the problem is it puts the Pentagon in a period of uncertainty at a time when it's dealing with COVID-19, distribution of the vaccine, which is a very dangerous world. And we're also dealing with issues here at home. This is not a good time to fire the Secretary of Defense in this period of transition.
I think of it as in between someone getting an eviction notice and being put out, it's like burning the house or causing damage right to the house. And that is something that even after he is gone, the American people will have to live with. The Biden administration will have to come back from that. Is this, I mean, how difficult is that going to be? How much is that going to hinder the Biden administration getting their feet on the ground from the start?
Well, it's just not a smart move at this period. I mean, the election's over. We know who the winner of the election is. The president continues to fight that, which is unfortunate for the country. And at the same time, it's going to make it very difficult to have a smooth transition between his administration and the new administration. It's tough enough under the best of times to try to implement a smooth transition. It just is. There's a lot of work to be done, a lot of binders to be put together in terms of what's going on in each of the departments and agencies, or what's going on at the White House. And it's obvious that this administration is not going to cooperate in any way with regards to the transition. And when you get rid of the Secretary of Defense, who knows what's going on at the Pentagon, knows what's going on with the issues that relate to our national security, and you put somebody else in for this very short period of time, it's just going to make it much more difficult to have a smooth transition with an issue that is critical, our national security. Why create that kind of uncertainty at this point in time? I don't get it.
And what does this mean for foreign adversaries who look at the U.S., they see the U.S. in a vulnerable position? Are they going to take advantage of that? Or do you think they'll be deterred from the fact that there in a couple of months, there will be a president who could come down?
Well, it's going to it sends a bad message to our adversaries and to our allies alike, because it just makes clear that the United States of America has a tremendous amount of uncertainty that it's at this point in time. Now, I suspect that in the end, nobody's going to do anything precipitously because there is a new administration coming in. I think they know that a new administration is going to represent a very different approach in terms of both foreign and military policy. And for that reason, I think that everybody's going to be on hold. But there are adversaries out there, particularly terrorists, who don't have a high regard for timing or for diplomacy, who are, if they're intending to attack our country, this just gives them an added issue to weigh in determining whether or not they're going to strike at America. That makes it a dangerous moment, and it's just not smart for this president to engage in that kind of byplay at a moment when this country needs to be strong and needs to send the world the signal that our democracy is functioning and functioning properly.
The CIA director could be a risk. How worried are you about that?
Well, as I said, this could be the beginning of a lot of tweets about picking out people that for one reason or another doesn't like. He may be the only person left who's going to leave his own administration and White House. But it's just, it's just vindictive. It's vindictive of a president to do this at this stage when the country is trying to go through a transition to a new administration. As I've said, it's the last moment where this president could at least show a little grace about the importance of transitioning to a new administration. But instead, he's going to make it ugly to the very end.
Secretary Panetta, thank you for coming on. And next, Trump's campaign manager telling staff the president is, quote, still in this fight as they push ahead with multiple lawsuits. I'm going to speak to an attorney who was involved in the 2000 recount He says he hasn't seen any evidence to back up any of the president's baseless claims.
A small thing like corny krill oil can make a big difference for birds. From pure Antarctic waters, krill are an omega-3 source of nature and supports immune, heart, brain, joint, eye, and skin. The ocean's superior omega.
Ordering Chipotle for the now. One, go for it. With guacamole, salt, scrub up AC rewards for rewarding yourself.
Look, this isn't my first rodeo. And let me tell you something. I wouldn't be here if I thought reverse mortgages took advantage of any American senior, or worse, that it was some way to take them home. It's just a loan designed for older homeowners, and it's helped over 1 million people. A reverse mortgage loan isn't some kind of trick to take your home. It's a loan, like any other. Big difference is how you pay it back.
Find out how reverse mortgages really work with AHE's free no-obligation reverse mortgage guide. Eliminate monthly mortgage payments and bills, medical costs, and more. Call now and get your free quote. Call 800-647-4586.
Other mortgages are paid each month, but with a reverse mortgage, you can pay whatever you can when it works for you. Or you can wait and pay it off in one lump sum when you leave here.
Discover the option that's best for you. Call today and find out more. AHE's free no-obligation reverse mortgage loan guide. Access tax-free cash and stay in the home you love.
You've probably been investing for years, making monthly mortgage payments, doing the right thing, and it's become your family's heart and soul. Well, that investment can give you tax-free cash.
Strategically using a reverse mortgage loan to cover expenses, pay for health care, preserve your portfolio, and so much more.
Look, reverse mortgages aren't good, but I think I've been around long enough to know what's what. I'm proud to be a part of AHG. I trust it. I think you can too.
Trust AAG for the best reverse mortgage solutions. Call 800-647-4586 so you can retire better.
When we started Carvana, they told us that selling cars 100% online wouldn't work. But we went to work, building an experience that lets you shop over 17,000 cars from home, creating a coast-to-coast network to deliver your car as soon as tomorrow, recruiting an army of customer advocates to make your experience incredible, and putting you in control of the whole thing with powerful technology. That's why we've become the nation's fastest growing retailer, because our customers love it. See for yourself at Carvana.com.
Her legacy. It's hard to overrate Lady Bird's importance in the Johnson presidency. The new CNN original series, First Ladies, Lady Bird Johnson.
Sunday at 10 on CNN.
Attention! Do you have Medicare? Did you know you may qualify to get up to $148 added back to your Social Security check every month? It's easy to see if you're eligible. Just call the Go Medicare Benefits Help Center at 800-908-4301. In addition to receiving $148 every month, you might also qualify for a $0 Medicare Advantage plan that includes the following benefits: dental, including fillings, exams, dentures; vision, including exams, frames, lenses, and even contacts; hearing, including hearing aids, batteries, and prescription drug coverage, all at no additional cost. The Go Medicare Benefits Help Center is open now at 800-908-4301. Both the call and the consultation are 100% free with absolutely no obligation to enroll. Call the Go Medicare Benefits Help Center now at 800-908-4301. That's 800-908-4301.
I'm Caitlin Collins at the White House, and this is CNN.
President Trump is digging in. He's refusing to concede to the man who more than 75 million Americans have chosen to replace him in the White House, President-elect Joe Biden. Sources telling CNN the Trump campaign plans a messaging blitz to fuel Trump's baseless claim that the election was stolen from him by rampant voter fraud. The campaign manager even summoning all staffers for a meeting this morning and telling them the president is still in this fight. I want to bring in Houston attorney Daryl Briscoe. He is very familiar with hotly contested elections. He was the lead trial lawyer for George W. Bush's legal team in the battle over recounting mail-in ballots in 2 Florida counties in 2000, a battle that he won. Daryl, thank you so much for being with us. You obviously have a very unique perspective as someone who's been through a hotly contested race. Republicans have filed lawsuits in a handful of states. They have cited improper mail-in voting and or ballot counting procedures. Judges have already rejected the suits in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Georgia. Do you think that there is any merit to their claims?
Well, based on everything I've heard, and I've tried to follow things a little bit, as you might suspect, looking back 20 years of my own experience, I see no legitimate claim of the kind of malfeasance that would justify the disenfranchisement of something like 50,000 voters in Pennsylvania, 36,000, Nevada, 17,000, and Arizona, 10,000, Georgia. We were, of course, back at that time dealing with a vote count that was in the hundreds difference and not the thousands in one state, not 5 states, 4 states.
And you were also trying to get military ballots counted. This is one of the differences that we have seen, for instance, when it comes to what President Trump and his allies are arguing for. We have seen people in the military and their families who perhaps they live in one state, but they vote in their home state of record, which is completely acceptable. And the campaign is trying to get those votes thrown out. Or this idea of ballots, including military ballots, to come in after Election Day, they don't want them counted. Explain to us the difference between what you are going through and what they're arguing for.
Well, the military count issue really came up just as I was being asked by Secretary Baker to come down and join the team. Fred Bartlett and some other lawyers handled that matter, but the long and short was that they were talking about the same thing that we later talked about. That is fundamentally, unless you find some significant material irregularity, you do not, after the fact, disenfranchise the voter. You don't deprive that voter who depended on the system, received instructions from governmental sources about how they should vote, then attempted to follow those rules, and later say, wait a minute, those rules were either technically wrong, forms were wrong, something we don't like about the system, so you, voter, get disenfranchised. You've been denied your right to go to the polls on election day, relying on the system. That cannot happen.
Daryl Briscoe, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you giving us your expertise, having been involved in the recount in 2000. You're one of very few people who is tell us what it means there on the ground. Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you for having me.
Now, more than 10 million Americans have now contracted coronavirus since the pandemic began. The country is setting records daily for the number of new infections. Dr. Anthony Fauci will join CNN live later today on the Situation Room to discuss how the U.S. can get this under control.
Good morning, Mr. Sutton.
Good morning, Brett.
It's warm.
Okay.
Wait, what?
There's going to be crutches. Don't be hard. I want to get up, girls. Things that's an old
Business gets free. Progressive helps protect what you built with customizable coverage.
For over 25 years, Homestead has helped seniors stay home. Now, staying home isn't just staying in the place they love. It's staying safe. Homestead. To us, it's personal.
When pets were given the choice between cable and snack, they had no idea which one saves them money. You're not an animal. Make the smart choice and switch to Sling. Get the best of cable, the best price.
What's up, America? It's your boy IT. And if you know me, you know I love cars. No matter how much I love them,
know they're gonna break. That's why I protect my baby car. I know a car out of warranty repairs is going to be expensive. The car will help get those repairs covered, so I don't have to. And they can do the same for you. It's that simple.
We saved over $6,000 on the interview over ourselves.
You have to pay for this. I said, no, you don't have to pay for this. Why? That costs you. If your car breaks down, you can take any certified dealer and car shield handles the rest. Your show stopping coverage also includes roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage at no additional cost.
If you're just throwing money away, I get to do your thing. But if you're like me and millions of other people who don't want to get stuck with repair bills, then call Car Shield. I trust them with my car, and you can too.
Car Shield covers most makes and models, 5,000 to 150,000 miles.
If your car broke down, could you afford thousands and thousands of dollars to fix your engine, transmission, or computer system? Most people would say no.
With that car, there was no way that I could afford to get my car.
It's not like the old days when you could fix anything with a regular screwdriver. Now you need to be a rocket scientist. And when your check engine light comes on, that's game over. So show your car some love and give the protection for the Car Shield. Tell them I see them. And remember, Car Shield car, go far.
Make the smart choice and protect yourself from expensive car breakdowns. Call now for free and instant protection. It's only a matter of time until repairs are needed. Call 800-998-7156. That's 800-998-7156. 800-998-7156. Right now, it's all on us.
Everything's building to this moment. Believe me, it's extraordinary.
This is a attention firefighter. Certain chemicals in firefighting foam are linked to cancer. Exposure to foam may increase the risk of kidney, pancreatic, testicular, bladder, breast, colon, liver, and prostate, as well as leukemia and lymphoma. Firefighters who use these foams and later develop cancer may be entitled to compensation. Call Talking All Law for a free legal consultation. 1-800-789-4164. 1-800-789-4164. And another attorney quote.
My name is Adina. For me, it's about time. Time for another chance to be a mom, to be a wife, to be a business owner, and be able to share my story and tell other people that it's going to be to have in your corner who you love, who you trust, and who care about you. And for me, that would be a future list. It's like a person instead of a person. And it made all the difference.
This is CNN. Whoa.
Just in, as the U.S. surpasses 10 million coronavirus cases, a new CDC study reveals how many COVID patients go back into the hospital after this visit. Jacqueline Howard has the report.
I'm Jacqueline Howard, and a new study from the CDC finds that about 1 in 11 COVID-19 patients are readmitted to the hospital within just a couple of months. The study looked at more than 100,000 COVID-19 patients between March and August. Researchers found that patients who were readmitted were more likely to be 65 or older, have a chronic health condition, have been discharged to a nursing home or needed home health care, or they have been hospitalized before their initial COVID-19 hospitalization.
Jacqueline, thank you. And our special coverage continues now with Reform.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Hi there, you are watching CNN on this Monday afternoon. I'm Brooke Baldwin. Great to be here. Major developments today with several major headlines. We're calling so bringing it up to speed. First and foremost, President Trump has announced on Twitter this afternoon that he's firing his defense secretary, Mark Esper, effective immediately. Esper will be replaced by acting Secretary Christopher Miller, who currently serves as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center. Meantime, President-elect Joe Biden is hitting the ground running on his transition to the White House, delivering a speech today on his plans for battling the coronavirus pandemic. And speaking of, just this afternoon, the United States has now crossed the grim milestone of 10 million COVID cases. This is just 10 days after surpassing 9 million. But in a potentially major breakthrough today here in the race for vaccine, drug giant Pfizer has announced that its vaccine candidate is more than 90% effective. So we've got you covered on all of that. I want to start with Caitlin Collins over at the White House. And so, Caitlin, what happened? Like, what can you tell us about Trump's firing of Secretary Esper?
Well, we know that he had about a 5-minute heads up that tweet was coming from President Trump announcing that he had terminated him. And that warning came from the Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, who called Esper to let him know that it was going to happen. And of course, this came pretty suddenly today, Brooke, but we knew that this was months in the making because the president and Defense Secretary Esper have been clashing for months. A lot of that had to do with what we saw over the summer during those protests. And the president wanted to send troops out into American streets. And we saw, I believe it was the last time that Mark Esper held a press conference, he came out and said he did not support invoking the Insurrection Act, putting American troops on American streets to deal with American citizens just because they were protesting police brutality. And so that was something the president was furious over. He referred to him as Yesper, implying that he was a yes man over the summer. Well, so this is something that has been a mainstay of the administration. The president started his time in office, and now he is during his time in office.
Yes, Mark. Okay. Caitlin, talking about this warning, we're getting a reporting about this warning from Trump's personnel chief to any White House staff position for new jobs. What's the word?
Yeah, this is Johnny. Was the president before the base basically gone in the administration, telling people that this is what he was loyal to the party. He also recently replaced all the liaisons to the agency. It's basically anyone who's looking for a job, or their colleagues looking for a job, according to him, he says that he fired. So, of course, naturally, people are looking for jobs. So that's what happens when a president loses an election. It's on a force, but you're on the job for 2 more months. Like Esper's deputies, they don't even have
nature of the game. Lastly, what about this another Trump advisor is now tested for coronavirus? What do you know about that?
This is a growing where the president's over to test for coronavirus. Basically, we not only tested positive, but now Dave Fossey, who worked with the president's 2016 campaign, is an advisor to him now. But here's the news here that he was recently tapped to oversee all of the campaign's legal challenges when it comes to the election. He was supposed to be coordinating that and overseeing that, and now we have found out that he is also contracted. He declined the request for comment, but I'm told that he's been inside the campaign headquarters multiple times in the last week. He's been traveling extensively. We saw him in Arizona, and now we learned that Dave Fossey does have coronavirus.
Caitlin Collins, thank you for all of that there at the White House. The post-Trump era is really coming into focus today as President-elect Joe Biden and his transition team move quickly to battle the biggest challenge facing the country. We're just discussing the coronavirus pandemic. Just this morning, Biden announced the members of this coronavirus advisory board, including Dr. Rick Bright. His name's not familiar. Let me just remind you. He's the whistleblower from the Trump administration who alleged that his early warnings about the pandemic were ignored and ultimately led to his removal. So CNN's Jeff Zeleny is live in Wilmington, Delaware. And Jeff, what was Biden's message this afternoon?
Well, there is no question that President-elect Joe Biden is setting a new tone. It's really making it one of the first official acts here as his campaign becomes the transition to power. Holding a briefing here and invading members of the task force, making is not commenting on the president, so we're people to acknowledge the reality of the election, those Republicans as well. The Biden transition is moving forward on this. Joe Biden said earlier here today, when this that
This election is over. It's time to put aside the parties and the rhetoric that designed to demonize one another. Please, I'm important. Wear a mask. Do it for yourself. Do it for your neighbor. The mask is not a political statement, but it is a good way to start thinking.
So, of course, that is one of the central challenges facing his organization, his transition. Certainly, the vice president elected call pulling this country together after this election was still not in balance. The outcome of it, the former vice president talking extensively about where it's pulled out of that. So that is what he put. His advisor has told me that they don't support. It's more than 2/3 of Americans say they believe we're in a public health responsibility, not a political statement. So he's trying to reach some of those Trump voters here on this issue. We hope some of them.
Judge, thank you very much. That's and speaking of virus, let's get to today's news. Pfizer, the company says early data shows its vaccine candidate is more than 90% effective in preventing the virus among trial volunteers. And the nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, tells CNN extraordinarily good. CNN senior medical correspondent with the company is standing by with the details. So, Elizabeth, first, when it's more than 90% effective, can you just provide text for us? Just tell us more about this.
Right, that is incredibly effective. Most of the vaccines that we get are not that effective. There are some, but most are not. And I will tell you what that for us, Dr. was talking about, wouldn't it be great if we got 60%, we get 70%, they are open for 70%, and this too, that's even greater than 90%. So let's take a listen to what the CEO of Pfizer said, our colleague, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, this morning.
I think that the likely patient impact that will be the greatest medical advance the last few years, right? And it is extraordinary that it's not the time that the world needs it the most. Right now, only the US, which is 100,000 victims of COVID every day. 1,000 every day. I think so it's very important.
So we heard a lot of enthusiasm there, but let's break it down with numbers that have made me so enthusiastic. What Pfizer did is they enrolled 43,000 people in their study. Half of those people got the vaccine, and then they let months pass by. They saw who got the vaccine, they saw who got sick, and 94 people became sick with COVID. Then they did an unblinded. They unblinded those 94 people, and they said, wow, what's this? Only 10% of those 94 people got the vaccine. 90% of them got the placebo. That means that the vaccine did something. There's 90% protection, meaning if you have a run-in, if you get the vaccine and you have a run-in with the coronavirus, that there's a 90% chance that you will not become sick with COVID. Now, there are lots of caveats to put in here. One of them is the study isn't done. These are interim results. The full results won't be known for a while, but certainly this is very encouraging and enough for the FDA to look at.
So then beyond, I guess, the immediate, what then happens next for everyone watching? Okay, this is really great, potentially for me. Then what?
Right, so the next steps is that it won't be until next week that Pfizer finds out some really important safety data. So once they get through that data, assuming there are no red flags, you don't have to be easy to think there will be red flags, but if there are no red flags, then it can go in front of the FDA to get authorization. But look, that might actually end up being the easy part. Let's take a look at this. If this is a very, very tough vaccine to distribute, that's because it has to be kept at minus 103 degrees Fahrenheit. That is way colder than any other vaccine that's on the market. Doctors' offices, pharmacies, they don't have the kind of freezers that you need to keep something at minus 103 degrees. So it gets very, very complex. Also, it could be a yearly shot, when we really say shots. This is a 2-dose vaccine, which makes it even more complicated. So you might have to get it every year, and whenever you get it, you have to get 2 shots placed about 3 weeks apart. And then what comes the really tough part, you have to convince the public to get it. A lot of people are very skeptical about the coronavirus vaccines.
For sure. Elizabeth, thank you for the encouraging news on Pfizer today. Good to see you. Appreciate it. Coming up, some refusing to recognize President-elect Joe Biden as his historic win. What are they waiting for? Let's talk about it. And the lawsuits from the Trump campaign just keep on coming. But do any of them have merit? We'll discuss with one of the nation's leading election lawyers. And all eyes on my home state of Georgia, where 2 runoff elections could decide who controls the Senate. Our special coverage continues after this quick break. Watching CNN, I'm Brooke Baldwin.
Hope is the light in all of us that cannot be extinguished. To stir that fire, University of Phoenix is awarding up to $1 million in scholarships through this month. See what scholarship you qualify for at phoenix.edu.
Hi, I'm Joe London. As a longtime senior advocate, I have an important message for anyone on here. Right now is the annual Medicare enrollment period. Many of you may qualify to save money or receive new Medicare benefits at additional costs, but you don't get these savings or additional benefits automatically. That's why my friends at Assurance are providing you with a free, no obligation Medicare benefits review by simply calling the toll-free number on your screen now. They can see if you are eligible for new Medicare benefits like free eyeglasses, prescription drug home delivery, expanded at-home telehealth visits, and an over-the-counter allowance for things like pain relievers or skincare products. You may even be eligible for $0 monthly premiums, $0 deductibles, no copays. Medicare benefits can be confusing, especially managing the prescriptions. Handling Medicare first for my mom, then for myself, has been a very eye-opening experience.
Oh my God.
That's why I trust the licensed agents at Assurance, who will answer any questions and make sure you're doing all the things like prescriptions are ending. And you may also be eligible for $0 deductibles, no copays. So if you're currently on the
Maybe more than years. Good morning.
to actually work. Good science. It's more of the same. We've seen grade two, he's lost.
There is no time for adequate solutions. I hope that please come on to search for stunt film legislating who suffered from that. Now, something that somehow really stolen that is extremely dangerous, extremely poisonous to our democracy. Stay long. However, there is no claims, lawsuits and make no mistake, there has been no evidence of abuse. Silent or sympathetic to the president's tendencies. Even some administration process administration only to launch it's for the general service administration its work. Because peaceful transfer is all okay. And it must proceed on the GS sign of there's no excuse, none, without preparation. Sentences on the presidency, sure,
Are 7 points from where he was in 2006. African Americans increased to be a big deal on the team. By adding the Spanish perspective in the message. It was in Houston and other parts. How come?
Because of the economy. Because, you know, I'm very happy that you're asking me that question. We want to be part of the family. We want to be part of the GOP. We want to be part of that prosperity. And this administration, the Trump administration, offered us to be able to sit at the table, have a seat at the table, sitting at the table. And that's exactly what we need. We come here and we have love and kindness for the United States. We want to be part of the system. And the Trump administration gave us that possibility. I'm sure you know that last year, more Hispanics, more African Americans, more women, minority will work more because we have 6 million jobs that could not be filled. So if you were the lowest class, you were making a lot more money, $10 an hour. And that is the reason why we're here. And that's why I'm very happy that my party has understood and is now realizing that we, the Hispanics, who share the same values that are entrenched in the GOP, hardworking, law, family-oriented, God-fear. We want to come and give, not take away.
Let's go. More women are part of the Republican House. What was the attraction?
The attraction is to serve, and that's the reason why. Because we care. Because we care.
Hard evidence of and the Sunday, Sunday.
questions from the public